Hello everyone, welcome to my Teen Mom News channel. In today's video, you'll learn something you've never heard before, so don't skip a second and keep an eye on our channel. Please go ahead and hit the subscribe button and give this video a like up to get all the hottest updates, hottest moments, and hottest news from the Teen Mom world all in one place. Teen Mom star Janelle didn't plan to become famous. In fact, like many of the young mothers who joined 16 and pregnant back in 2010, she was just a teenager trying to figure out her life after an unexpected pregnancy. But once MTV cameras started rolling, Janelle's chaotic world became a mirror for millions of viewers, a world filled with love, heartbreak, anger, mistakes, and the search for stability. So why did Janelle stand out among all the teen moms? It wasn't just her story of becoming a young mother. Viewers saw raw emotion with Janelle, the screaming arguments, the late-night disappearances, the unforgettable fights with her mom, and the roller coaster of boyfriends who came and went. She was unpredictable. She was dramatic. She was real. And that authenticity, whether people loved her or hated her, made her unforgettable. From the moment Janelle appeared on screen, audiences realized she wasn't like the others. While some teen moms showed maturity and growth early on, Janelle's life seemed to spiral out of control, and the cameras captured every moment. For fans, it was like watching a storm, messy, loud, but impossible to look away from. For critics, she represented the darker side of teen pregnancy, showing what happens when immaturity collides with adult responsibilities. But Janelle's story is not just about drama. It's also about survival, resilience, and the painful realities of growing up too fast. It's about a young woman searching for love in the wrong places, struggling with addiction, clashing with family, and fighting to prove she could be a good mother despite all odds. And that is exactly why we are here today, to walk through her journey step by step, to understand not just the controversies but also the person behind the headlines. So let's begin with where it all started. Janelle's early life, before the cameras, before the fame, and before the world knew her name. Before the world knew her as a reality TV star, Janelle Evans was just another girl growing up in a small town in North Carolina. Her story begins on December 19, 1991, when she was born in Oak Island, a quiet coastal community known for its beaches and family-centered neighborhoods. But behind the calm scenery of Oak Island, Janelle's childhood was anything but simple. Janelle was the middle child in her family. She had an older brother named Colin and a younger sister, Ashley. Her mother, Barbara Evans, worked tirelessly to provide for the family, while her father, Robert Evans, was mostly absent from her life. Janelle's parents had a rocky relationship, and eventually, they divorced. The separation left a lasting mark on young Janelle, shaping her understanding of love, trust, and family bonds. Barbara, often remembered by Teen Mom fans for her thick Boston accent and fiery arguments, became the central figure in Janelle's upbringing. She was strict, outspoken, and unafraid to challenge Janelle when she thought her daughter was making bad choices. But beneath the yelling and the constant clashes, Barbara's intentions were rooted in love. She wanted stability for her daughter, even if it meant playing the role of the bad guy. For Janelle, growing up was not easy. Her childhood was marked by tension in the home, strained relationships, and the constant challenge of feeling misunderstood. She longed for freedom and independence, but at the same time, she struggled with the lack of consistency and emotional stability that every child needs. In school, Janelle was known to be bright but easily distracted. She enjoyed cheerleading, hanging out with friends, and the normal activities of a teenage girl. But deep inside, she carried a sense of rebellion. She craved adventure, excitement, and a life beyond the small-town boundaries of Oak Island. By her teenage years, Janelle started showing signs of restlessness. Like many teens, she tested boundaries, argued with her mom, and wanted to live life on her own terms. But with a strict mother at home and an absent father figure, Janelle's sense of identity became shaped by a constant push and pull, a desire to break free, but without the guidance to navigate that freedom responsibly. This struggle would later play out on national television, but the seeds of it were planted long before MTV's cameras showed up. Janelle was a girl torn between two worlds, the responsibility of growing up and the temptation of recklessness. It's important to understand that Janelle's early life was not defined only by conflict. There were also moments of joy, laughter, and normal teenage dreams. She loved music, she loved the beach, and she cherished the times when her family seemed united, even if those moments were rare. But the shadows of instability always loomed large. Perhaps the most defining part of Janelle's early years was her complicated relationship with her mother, Barbara. Their bond was strong but volatile. Barbara was protective, sometimes overbearing, and often frustrated with Janelle's choices. Janelle, on the other hand, felt smothered and constantly judged. This dynamic created explosive arguments, the kind that Teen Mom viewers would later see play out in dramatic fashion. But those arguments didn't start on TV, they were part of Janelle's life long before fame came knocking. By the time Janelle reached her mid-teens, the storm inside her was brewing stronger. She began dating, spending more time with friends, and pulling away from her mother's rules. Barbara worried that her daughter was slipping out of control, but her warnings often went ignored. Then, at the young age of 16, Janelle's life changed forever. She discovered she was pregnant with her first child. Suddenly, the rebellious teen who had always wanted freedom was faced with the ultimate responsibility, motherhood. This moment would not only alter her life path but would also introduce her to the world stage. Because soon after that positive pregnancy test, MTV came into the picture. Janelle's early life was filled with challenges, a broken home, an absent father, a strict mother, and the restless spirit of a teenager trying to find her place in the world. These experiences laid the foundation for everything that would come later. And while millions of viewers would come to know Janelle through the lens of reality TV, her struggles and pain began long before the cameras were rolling. Next, we will step into the chapter that forever changed her life, her entrance into 16 and Pregnant and later Teen Mom 2, where the world would meet Janelle Evans for the very first time. By 2009, MTV had already found unexpected success with its groundbreaking series 16 and Pregnant, a show designed to highlight the realities of teenage motherhood. Each episode followed one young woman navigating pregnancy, relationships, and the struggles of becoming a parent at such a young age. And in Season 2, the world was introduced to a fiery, outspoken girl from Oak Island, North Carolina, Janelle Evans. Janelle's episode of 16 and Pregnant aired in April 2010, and it immediately struck a chord with viewers. Unlike some of the other girls, Janelle's story wasn't only about becoming a mom. It was about rebellion, instability, and her rocky relationship with her own mother, Barbara Evans. Right from the start, audiences could see that Janelle was different, bold, reckless, and unwilling to back down, even when the odds were stacked against her. Her episode chronicled her pregnancy with her first son, Jace Evans, whom she gave birth to on August 2, 2009. Viewers watched Janelle navigate not just the stress of teen pregnancy but also the constant tension in her household. She frequently clashed with Barbara, who questioned Janelle's ability to handle responsibility. The most striking element? Janelle's desire to still live her teenage life, hanging out with friends, going out late, and leaving Jace in the care of her mom. Barbara, who was already exhausted from raising her own children, suddenly found herself stepping into the role of Jace's primary caregiver. This dynamic, Janelle chasing freedom while Barbara fought for structure, became one of the central themes of Janelle's entire journey on MTV. Audiences reacted strongly. Some sympathized with Janelle, recognizing that she was still just a child herself, overwhelmed by the realities of motherhood. Others criticized her harshly, pointing to her reckless decisions and lack of responsibility. Either way, people were talking about her. And in the world of reality TV, that kind of attention made her a star. Due to the popularity of 16 and Pregnant, MTV launched a spin-off in 2011 called Teen Mom 2. The new series followed 4 young mothers from season 2 of 16 and Pregnant as they adjusted to raising their children. Janelle Evans, with her fiery personality and complicated life, was an obvious choice for the cast. From the very first episodes of Teen Mom 2, Janelle's storyline stood out. While other cast members like Kaylin Lowry, Chelsea Houska, and Leah Messer focused more on co-parenting struggles and attempts to balance school with motherhood, Janelle's story was pure chaos. She was often shown arguing with Barbara, disappearing to spend time with boyfriends, or dealing with the consequences of poor decisions. One of the most unforgettable moments early in the series was when Barbara screamed at Janelle in her thick Boston accent, yelling the now famous line, "Janelle, you can't just leave Jace with me all the time." That clip went viral and became a defining image of their relationship. Janelle's biggest challenge during those first few seasons was balancing motherhood with her desire to live freely. She frequently left Jace in Barbara's care, leading to constant arguments over custody. At one point, Barbara even obtained temporary custody of Jace, further fueling the tension between mother and daughter. But Janelle's struggles didn't end there. She became known for her turbulent relationships, particularly with her then-boyfriend Andrew Lewis and later Kiefer Delp, a young man who quickly became infamous among fans. Janelle's on-again, off-again relationship with Kiefer was filled with drama, legal troubles, and heartbreak. As the cameras rolled, Janelle's personal challenges escalated into very public problems. She was arrested multiple times for charges ranging from drug possession to breaking and entering. These moments, shocking as they were, became central storylines on Teen Mom 2. For fans, it was like watching a train wreck in slow motion, heartbreaking, frustrating, but impossible to turn away from. And yet, despite all the chaos, Janelle remained one of the most watched figures on the show. Viewers couldn't stop asking, would she ever turn her life around? Would she ever gain back custody of Jace? Could she break free from toxic relationships? What made Janelle's journey so compelling was the raw honesty of it all. She wasn't afraid to cry on camera, to scream, or to admit her mistakes. And while some accused her of being careless, others saw in her a reflection of the real struggles young mothers face when they lack support, stability, and maturity. By the end of the first few seasons, Janelle had already cemented herself as the breakout star of Teen Mom 2. She was unpredictable, dramatic, and endlessly fascinating. The tension with Barbara, the custody battle over Jace, the troubled romances, it was all must-see TV. But with that fame came consequences. The spotlight on her life meant that every mistake, every fight, and every downfall was broadcast to millions of viewers. Unlike a normal teenager who might make mistakes in private, Janelle's struggles were magnified under the harsh glare of reality TV. Janelle's journey on Teen Mom 2 was just beginning. In the years that followed, her storylines would only grow more intense, more relationships, more custody battles, and more shocking moments that kept her name in headlines. But during those early years, one thing became clear: Janelle Evans was not just another face in the franchise. She was the star audiences couldn't stop talking about, the girl whose life became the most unpredictable roller coaster ride reality TV had ever seen. Next, we'll dive deeper into the part of Janelle's story that defined much of her public image, her tumultuous relationships with men, the heartbreaks, the scandals, and the choices that would shape not only her life but also her future as a mother. When people think about Janelle Evans, one of the first things that comes to mind is not just her time on Teen Mom 2, but also the constant stream of legal troubles and custody battles that seemed to follow her at every turn. Unlike many of her co-stars, Janelle's story was never just about motherhood. It became a long and painful journey through police stations, courtrooms, and child protective services. Janelle's legal troubles began soon after her MTV fame. In October 2010, not long after her 16 and Pregnant and Early Teen Mom 2 episodes aired, she was arrested for breaking and entering as well as drug possession. She was found with marijuana and drug paraphernalia, and her relationship with then-boyfriend Kiefer Delp only fueled the chaos. That arrest was just the beginning. Over the next several years, Janelle was arrested multiple times on charges that ranged from simple possession to probation violations. At one point, she even faced charges for alleged assault after getting into physical altercations. For fans watching at home, it seemed like Janelle couldn't stay out of trouble for long. Many of these legal issues were tied directly to her toxic relationship with Kiefer. The pair were infamous on Teen Mom 2 for their constant drama, fights, and run-ins with the law. There was even a now iconic mugshot of Janelle wearing a pink shirt, which circulated online and became a symbol of her rebellious years. But while Janelle's arrests grabbed headlines, the real battle was happening at home. Early in Teen Mom 2, it became clear that Janelle struggled to balance her lifestyle with the responsibilities of raising her son, Jace. Barbara, who had stepped in as Jace's primary caregiver, eventually went to court to obtain legal custody. In 2010, Barbara was granted full custody of Jace, leaving Janelle with only visitation rights. This decision was heartbreaking for Janelle, but it also highlighted a painful reality: she was not in a stable position to care for her son. Viewers watched as Janelle cried, screamed, and lashed out, insisting she wanted her son back. But Barbara stood firm, believing she was protecting Jace from the instability in Janelle's life. This custody arrangement set the stage for more than a decade of battles between mother and daughter. Janelle repeatedly promised to turn her life around, to prove she could be a good mother. But every time progress seemed within reach, another arrest, another toxic relationship, or another scandal pulled her back down. Barbara and Janelle's fights over Jace became some of the most intense and emotional moments on Teen Mom 2. The shouting matches, the tears, and the constant cycle of hope and disappointment kept fans glued to their screens. And while the drama made for compelling television, behind the cameras it was a heartbreaking reality for a young boy caught in the middle. Janelle's legal issues didn't end with Jace. As she entered new relationships and had more children, the custody battles multiplied. With Nathan Griffith, the father of her second son, Kaiser, Janelle faced a bitter co-parenting relationship. Their breakup led to ongoing fights over visitation, accusations of neglect, and repeated trips to court. Nathan's family even got involved at times, claiming they wanted to protect Kaiser from an unsafe environment. Later, with her husband David Eason, Janelle welcomed her daughter Ensley in 2017. But this relationship created perhaps the most explosive custody drama of all. In 2019, David made headlines for a shocking and disturbing incident in which he killed Janelle's family dog, Nugget. The story went viral and led to an investigation by Child Protective Services. Authorities temporarily removed all of Janelle's children from her care, sparking one of the most intense custody battles of her life. For weeks, Janelle and David fought to regain custody of their children, attending court hearings and undergoing evaluations. During this time, Barbara continued to care for Jace, while Kaiser was placed with Nathan's family. The case attracted national media coverage, with many questioning whether Janelle was fit to raise her kids. Eventually, after months of court battles, Janelle regained custody of Kaiser and Ensley, but Jace remained with Barbara. The ordeal left a permanent mark on Janelle's public image, reinforcing her reputation as one of the most controversial reality stars of her generation. The constant back and forth in courtrooms wasn't just about legal papers, it was about Janelle's identity as a mother. She often expressed that the world judged her unfairly, that cameras caught her worst moments while ignoring her attempts to do better. And while there were times she seemed to make progress, going to rehab, holding steady jobs, or maintaining stability, her past mistakes always seemed to overshadow her present efforts. For viewers, Janelle's custody battles became a central part of why they tuned in. Some empathized with her, believing she was a young woman who simply needed guidance and support. Others criticized her harshly, insisting she had been given too many chances. In many ways, Janelle became a polarizing figure, to some, a symbol of resilience, and to others, a warning about the dangers of immaturity and poor decision-making. By the late 2010s, Janelle's life was a patchwork of mugshots, court records, and heated custody disputes. But beneath all the headlines was a mother who, despite her flaws, never stopped fighting for her children. Whether out of love, pride, or both, Janelle's battles in court showed the world just how complicated her journey truly was. Next, we'll explore the turning point in Janelle's career, her dramatic exit from MTV, the reasons behind it, and how her life changed once the camera stopped rolling. For nearly a decade, Janelle Evans was one of the most recognized faces of Teen Mom 2. Love her or hate her, she was the cast member audiences couldn't stop talking about. But in 2019, everything changed. After years of legal problems, relationship drama, and public controversy, MTV made a decision that shocked fans around the world. They officially cut ties with Janelle Evans. The breaking point came after a disturbing and widely reported incident involving Janelle's husband, David Eason. In April 2019, David admitted to killing the family's French bulldog, Nugget, after the dog allegedly nipped at their daughter, Inslee. The story sparked outrage nationwide. Animal rights groups, fans, and media outlets condemned the act, and suddenly, all eyes turned to Janelle. Although the incident involved David, Janelle's association with him put her under enormous scrutiny. Critics argued that she had chosen to stay in a toxic and dangerous relationship, while supporters said she was a victim of circumstance. Either way, MTV could not ignore the backlash. On May 7, 2019, MTV released a public statement confirming Janelle's firing. The network explained that they had ended their relationship with her and would no longer be filming her segments for Teen Mom 2. It was the end of an era, the departure of one of the franchise's most controversial and talked-about stars. Interestingly, David himself had already been fired by MTV a year earlier, in 2018, after making a series of offensive and homophobic comments on social media. At the time, MTV continued working with Janelle, but the dog-killing incident pushed the network beyond its limit. For the producers, continuing to film Janelle meant risking the reputation of the entire show. Fans had mixed reactions. Some celebrated MTV's decision, arguing that Janelle had been given too many chances and that her storylines had become too dark and troubling for reality TV. Others were heartbroken, pointing out that Janelle's chaotic life was what made Teen Mom 2 so raw and authentic. Without her, many felt the show would lose one of its most compelling storylines. Janelle, for her part, was devastated. In interviews after her firing, she admitted that losing her MTV contract was a financial and emotional blow. She had built her life around being a reality TV personality, and suddenly, that platform was gone. However, she also expressed hope that she could rebuild her life away from the cameras and focus on her children. Still, even after her exit, Janelle remained a headline name. She continued posting on social media, sharing updates with fans, and finding ways to keep her story alive outside of MTV. Janelle's exit from MTV marked the end of one chapter but also highlighted the broader issue of reality TV stars living their lives under constant scrutiny. For nearly 10 years, every mistake Janelle made was amplified, every fight was recorded, and every poor choice was judged by millions. By the time MTV let her go, many wondered whether the cameras had done more harm than good in her life. And so, in 2019, Janelle Evans's long journey with Teen Mom 2 came to a dramatic close. But while the camera stopped rolling, her story was far from over. In fact, some of her biggest challenges, and her attempts to rebuild her image, would happen after MTV. Next, we'll explore life after Teen Mom, how Janelle tried to move forward, the projects she pursued, and whether she managed to escape the shadow of her controversial past. And so, we come to the end of Janelle Evans' story, or at least, the story we've seen unfold on television and in the headlines. From her days as a rebellious teenager on 16 and Pregnant, to her rise and fall on Teen Mom 2, Janelle's journey has been one of the most dramatic, heartbreaking, and unforgettable arcs in reality TV history. Her life has been defined by highs and lows, the joy of motherhood, the pain of custody battles, the chaos of toxic relationships, and the constant pressure of living under the public eye. For years, audiences watched her stumble, fight, and sometimes grow, always wondering if she would finally find the peace and stability she had been searching for. Janelle's story is more than just entertainment. It's a reminder of how complex life can be when youth, fame, and responsibility collide. It shows us the challenges of young motherhood, the consequences of poor choices, and the difficulty of breaking free from cycles of conflict and instability. But it also reminds us that behind every headline, there is a human being, someone who feels love, pain, and hope just like the rest of us. Whether you see Janelle Evans as a cautionary tale, a survivor, or simply a reality TV icon, one thing is certain: her story has left a lasting mark on pop culture. And as she continues her journey beyond MTV, only time will tell what the next chapter of her life will bring. If you liked today's update, please like and share it with your friends. Don't forget to subscribe to our Teen Mom News channel so that you don't miss any new updates. If you are interested in any specific news or information, please let us know in the comments. We will try to provide the right information according to your needs. Stay tuned for the next update and take care of yourself. Thank you.